What is going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice. Guys, we're bringing you a quarterly report for the Indianapolis Colts, even though we're, what is it now, like 30, it's like 30-something% right now, so it's
Yeah.
not
It's a
quite
little odd
45.
when there's 17 games. It's just a little odd. We can't really do the full quarterly report.
You can't do a quarterly report on 17 games, Cody. It's not possible. You
just
can't
hard. I know.
do 4 1/4 of a game, man. You can't do that. But
No. So we're just like, let's do it after 5 games. It's fine.
Anyways, we're bringing that in. But before we do that, guys, just want to say again, this episode is sponsored by FanDuel. The Indianapolis Colts, as it currently sits, 6.5-point favorites back at home against the Arizona Cardinals. We'll see how the injury reports start stacking up, and that will probably influence this spread a little bit because we got to keep an eye on that Kyler Murray situation going forward. But anyway, shout out to FanDuel for sponsoring this. Cody, what would we give the offense as an overall grade so far through the first 5 weeks of this season?
Yeah, so a little bit of stats here before I give the grade. So the Indianapolis Colts offense right now currently ranks 2nd in the NFL in points scored, 4th in yards per game, 5th in turnovers committed. They only have 3. They're 4th in fumbles lost. They only have 1. Right now, Derek, they are currently 3rd in first downs. And pretty much everything else, Derek, the Colts are pretty much top 10, if not top 5. So I think saying that, when you look at it, I would give this Colts offense an A. I mean, we just saw what they did last week against the Raiders. Like, they were scoring at will. And the reason I don't give it an A+, Derek, is frankly because of that Rams game. And even in that game, you had opportunities. You just did dumb things, and they erased some of those potential scores there. If you don't do those 2 dumb things, I guess if A.D. Mitchell doesn't do those 2 dumb things, this might very well be an A+, Derek. It very well might be. This Colts offense has been on track. They've done pretty much everything they need to do, and they've been very complimentary of each other. So overall, I'd give this offense an A.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, some people would even probably say an A+ because this offense has drastically overproduced in a way that nobody ever expected. Again, we were talking about it after the Titans game, Cody, that this offense has been putting up numbers you haven't seen since the Peyton Manning era. And that's no exaggeration. I mean, it's the truth. What Indy's offense has been able to do with the helm of Daniel Jones and a couple other people has just been absolutely insane. And we might as well hop into it. We'll go into the individual group grades. And you might as well start with the quarterback. And I mean, Cody, I feel like I think it's criminal to not give an A+ to Daniel Jones just for the fact that, again, he's 3rd in the league in yards. He hasn't had a ton of touchdowns. He has had 9 through the first 5 games, which overall isn't insanely amazing, but then again, we haven't been asking him to have to carry the workload in touchdowns. Only 2 interceptions on the year. Those both came against the Rams. And then number 1 this year in QBR. And I think, Cody, just with the limited expectations that people had on Daniel Jones and the way he has drastically overperformed, I think that just spews an easy A+ because he's done everything that Colts fans could have ever hoped for right now.
Yeah, I think you mentioned it. Like, Daniel Jones being a top 5 quarterback was definitely something that I guarantee you nobody had on their bingo card. Nobody did. Nobody expected Daniel Jones to do this. I mean, we said if he could even be like a Gardner Minshew, we would be happy. But he has taken that above and beyond, and he's been one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL through 5 games. I mean, he honestly has, Derek. And when you look at it, like even that Rams game, he should have had another passing touchdown.
Yep.
That got called. That didn't happen because the fumble again. But yeah, Daniel Jones has done everything that you could have ever hoped he would do as the Colts quarterback. I mean, Derek, if you told me this season that your starting quarterback was going to be, like you said, one of the top quarterbacks in passing yards, have over 70 completion percentage, only turned the ball over 2 times in total through 5 weeks. And like you said, a quarterback rating of 105.1, a QBR of 80.8. I mean, those things that's something we could never dream about. That's how good Daniel Jones has been, man. And it's not just been, like I know a lot of people say, well, look at the records of all the teams the Colts have played. But the defenses they've played haven't always just been these terrible defenses, right? They've actually been able, to do some things against some pretty darn stout good defenses, honestly. So, yeah, I am overly impressed with Daniel Jones. And Derek, honestly, sometimes, the things that the stats don't indicate, like the things up here between his 2 ears, like Daniel Jones is one of the smartest quarterbacks in the NFL. And we didn't see it because of all this junk around him in his time in New York. But his ability, man, just understanding the X's and the O's and the things that he can identify at the line of scrimmage, like those sorts of things, like that's what has set him apart the first 5 weeks, is he's actually been able to function as an actual quarterback that knows what's going on before the play happens. He can read things. He knows what's happening. And he's got the Colts into a lot of really good situations. And Derek, we even saw it last week. Like Daniel Jones can actually be a playmaker, right? I mean, that scramble he had to the right side where he found Pittman, like that's the kind of stuff that we haven't seen from a Colts quarterback in quite some time. I mean, that type of high-level throw, that kind of stuff is like stuff you can't teach. So, yeah, Daniel Jones has been everything that we could have ever hoped for and then some so far through 5 weeks. So I think an A+ is very fair.
And then obviously offensively, I mean, this is the whole unit. But again, Daniel Jones just being able to lead an offense that, again, has only punted so many times throughout this year, Cody. I mean, again, they still haven't even punted 10 times yet this year. I mean, if you think about it, they're probably averaging like 2 punts a game as it currently stands. And remember, they punted 1 time through the first 3 weeks, right? So, I mean, the punts have started to come back a little bit, but I mean, again, they only punted twice against the Raiders. They punted 3 times against the Rams, at least. And they only punted 1 time against the freaking Titans. I mean, the efficiency of what this offense has been able to do is just unprecedented, and it starts with Daniel Jones, and it's absolutely been insane. And then we move to Jonathan Taylor, who, again, is first in the NFL in carries, first in the NFL in yards, first in touchdowns, and is averaging over 5 yards a carry. Cody may go for the Triple Crown right now as it currently stands so far through the first part of this season. I mean, this, Cody, is the Jonathan Taylor of 2021. I mean, we haven't seen him run this good in 4 years. And the last time that we saw Jonathan Taylor run this good, remember, he was getting MVP votes for how good and how pivotal he was to that Colts offense. And no doubt, he has had a monster year to start the year and has been utilized in so many ways, and it has made things so much easier for this offense and Daniel Jones.
Yeah, it has. So Jonathan Taylor, A+, no question about it. And I hate to keep beating a dead horse, Derek, but he should have had 50+ more, like from last week. So, yeah, and that tells you what kind of player Jonathan Taylor has been this year. I mean, he's been an absolute stud, and that's also with a game where he only had 66 rushing yards. So, yeah, if that tells you anything, Jonathan Taylor has been absolutely electric all year long for the Indianapolis Colts. Like you said, leading the NFL right now in rushing yards. That's definitely impressive in itself. And also, Derek, one thing with Jonathan Taylor is he also is leading the NFL in rushing touchdowns as well. He has 6. So, and he's had 2 games where he's had 3 of them. So it's crazy. But also another thing, Derek, that we don't talk about is, and we've mentioned a little bit, but haven't talked about it a lot, is JT actually has been really good on third down. He has become a complete back this year, whether it's in pass protection or also whether it's been in receiving the football. And that's something we hadn't seen from Jonathan Taylor throughout his career, So, yeah, all in all, he's become more of a complete back, and he continues to be one of the best, actually the best running back in the NFL right now. And, I don't think there's another grade other than an A+ for the NFL rushing yard and rushing touchdown leader through 5 weeks.
Yeah, no doubt. And you're right. The ability of him to be able to catch the ball out of the backfield this year has been absolutely critical. And with his pass blocking, which has been absolutely great this year, you're right. He's become an every down back, and he's been utilizing more than just being able to run the football now. And I love that. And it's crazy you mentioned it. He has scored all 6 of his touchdowns in 2 games this year. He has 2 3-touchdown games, one against the Titans and one against the Raiders, which is absolutely insane. And again, we haven't even talked about the fact that he, has, 15 plus catches this year for 250 yards and a touchdown receiving as well. So again, an every down back, and he's been doing it in a lot of different ways. All right, moving to the wide receivers. We have that grade currently at an A- right now. And honestly, Cody, it's only an A- because of the fact that of Adonai Mitchell and what he has done. Adonai Mitchell continues to shoot himself in the foot. It has been very unfortunate to watch him kind of decline again and have these mental lapses where it impacts games. And I think that is what ultimately comes down to being an A-. But I mean, maybe even I'm being too critical. Honestly, we could probably put this as an A, because for receivers, as you currently stated, with Michael Pittman, he's doing phenomenal this year. Alec Pierce, before the injury, was once again catching the ball with averaging 17 yards a catch again. Josh Downs, anytime he catches the football, feels like he's getting a first down. Ashton Doolin, who had to replace Adonai Mitchell and Alec Pierce against the Raiders, led the team in yards. I mean, just ultimately, this wide receiver group, everyone's been doing their jobs, and it's really been awesome to watch all of them play the way they have.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I think A- is fair just because of the gravity of the mistake that was made by Adonai Mitchell. And unfortunately, it's like this is a unit, so we have to grade everybody in the unit, not just the guys that are doing well. So, yeah, I think just because of that dropped touchdown there that you didn't get to have on your offense, and then the holding penalty, so you erased because of your wide receiver room, specifically one player in your wide receiver room, it did cost you in a lot of ways that game. So I think A- is fair. Now, moving on to the tight ends, Derek, I would give this unit an A. I really would. I mean, Tyler Warren on his own, A+, no doubt about that. In total, it feels like this tight end room has just been really, really good for the Colts, which is definitely exciting in itself. And, haven't really had a ton of snaps for these other tight ends. I mean, it's just really been Tyler Warren who's been getting a lot of pretty much all the targets for tight ends for the Colts. And he's been out there so much that you occasionally get a Mo Alley Cox or an Andrew Ogletree, but that's about it, man. So what are your thoughts on the tight end room?
Yeah, I mean, it's been great that, you have a Warren right now that can be utilized in every aspect, to where you're not asking Mo Alley Cox and Drew Ogletree to do too much, right? I feel like in years past, we've asked Ogletree and Cox to be pivotal players in this offense, when in actuality, they really shouldn't be. I mean, they're pivotal in running the football, which they've been great at that. They've been great at run blocking. And on the rare occasions that Drew Ogletree and Mo Alley Cox have been targeted with throwing the football this year, they've been good at it. But again, of course, Tyler Warren, who leads the NFL in receiving yards by a tight end through the first 5 weeks of the season, absolutely incredible. We could not, I mean, Cody, we thought that might be a possibility. We wanted that to be a possibility. Did not actually think that through the first 30% of the year that Tyler Warren would actually lead all tight ends in receiving yards. And by the way, he's top 20 in receiving yards total in the entire NFL. Like, there's only 17 players that have more receiving yards in the NFL right now than Tyler Warren, which is actually insane. He leads every single player on the Colts in yards right now. So phenomenal job there. Love to see it. And yeah, you're right. I mean, with this tight end group, I mean, you have Warren, who is the playmaker. He's the one that is doing all the crazy plays. And then you just have Ogletree and Cox who are filling their roles, which is exactly what you need them to be doing. And it's great that we have that situation covered. Now, moving on to the offensive line, we sit here at an A minus for the offensive line. I think the only reason we don't put it any higher is because, again, we saw how disappointing it was at times against the Rams. The offensive line had its struggles for sure, which again kind of goes into how effective this grade is. But again, in the remainder of the games, Cody, Daniel Jones, he's only been sacked 4 times this year. So he's being sacked less than 1 time per game. Obviously, with Jonathan Taylor, he isn't able to lead the league in rushing and everything possible if not for this offensive line. And obviously, the passing game cannot be done the way it is without the offensive line. So, of course, and especially when you were talking about how Tanner Bortolini and Matt Gonsalves, how would they work this year? And they've filled the role perfectly. Definitely feels like this should be an A-minus group. The offensive line continues to be great.
Yeah, they've given Daniel Jones, when they've all been healthy, they've given Daniel Jones pretty much all day in that pocket, which is definitely great. I mean, admittedly, Derek, I said it, like I had questions about the 2 new starters of that offensive line. We have seen the horror stories of the Colts going out and signing somebody or bringing somebody in, putting their full confidence into somebody who hasn't really proven it, and it's blown up in their face in the past, right? So you were like, is this going to be more of the same, or are they going to step it up? And so far, so good for both these guys. I mean, they've done a great job all in all. And the good thing, Derek, is they're only second-year players, so they're going to get better, which is definitely exciting there. But yeah, the offensive line, I think both tackles have been just fine. Obviously, Big Q is what he is. Love to see him when he pulls out. And it just seems like, man, nobody wants a piece of Quentin Nelson when he pulls around and leads the way for Jonathan Taylor. So, yeah, offensive line continuing to make this offense flow. I mean, Derek, you and I, former offensive linemen, like the offensive line, we know it's the lifeblood of the offense. If the offensive line's bad, offense isn't going to get things done. And the Colts offensive line, they have been good, and the Colts have been able to be very efficient in both the run and pass game. So credit where it's due, man. They've had a few hiccups along the way. There's been a few times where they maybe struggled a little bit to create running lanes, but seems like they've mostly corrected those things, as the game has gone on. And then obviously that LA Rams game was probably their worst performance of the year.
Yeah.
But still, they were able to still give Daniel Jones decent protection out there.
Yeah.
And they were able to open up the running game for Jonathan Taylor still. So, yeah, when this offensive line's healthy, I think it's easily top 5.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, switch it over to the defensive side. And Cody, I mean, you can disagree with me on some of these if you want to, but I had to fill this out, and I give the defense a B so far through the first 5 weeks. Again, it's not a top tier unit right now, not implying that it is, but then again, we expected this defense to look better than what it was last year. And I think that through the first 5 weeks, they have been that. I think the most points you've given up is 28 points so far, which is definitely a good sign. The defense has not really lost you games so far. And, as for the most part, there's been several times where the Colts defense has kept teams to single digits so far through that. So the first unit we can talk about here, the defensive line, Cody. I'm going to go with a B minus here because, again, we've seen it to where the Colts, they've been racking up some of the sack numbers over the last few weeks. But even though I still think there's definitely room for improvement in that era, and as far as stopping the run, I feel like if a team actually decided that they were going to run the football consistently on the Indianapolis Colts, it would be much better for them. Just for some reason, teams decide not to run the football as much as we do, which is weird. But nevertheless, it hasn't really caused a situation yet where it's been bad for them. So what's your take on the B minus grade for the defensive line?
I hover between a B minus and a C plus, just because at the beginning of the year, outside of, I think, that first game, the Colts pass rush was like so bad. I mean, the edge rush was not good for a couple weeks at all. And so I was really nervous about that because it felt like there was a lot of guys who were getting snaps that weren't doing anything worth a darn at getting that to the quarterback. And like you said, teams were able to run the football very effectively on this Colts defense, on this defensive line. That was a little bit concerning. Now, the last couple weeks, it feels like this defensive line's really started to find itself. I feel like you've seen more of Buckner. You've seen more of Grover Stewart in that middle. And now you've started to see some of these other edge guys like Leatu Latu, like, even Samson Ebukam, who I was calling to be benched at one point because he was just horrendous in a couple games. He had his best performance of the year. And so I kind of think this defensive line's on the upswing. But it's still a unit that I think has a lot of room to improve, especially like you said in the run game, because there's still teams that are able to run the football on the Colts defense. So I would definitely say C plus B minus is fair.
Okay. Now we move on to the linebacker room, which, I mean, to be completely honest with you, Cody, I'm probably going to change this grade, and I'm going to give it a C minus so far through the first 5 weeks because, again, as it currently stands for the Colts, I mean, Zaire Franklin is not your leading tackler so far this season. It's actually Nick Cross that is your leading tackler right now, and that is not a good sign when you have a safety not only leading your team in tackles, but is leading your team in tackles by more than a dozen. I mean, that's where the level that we're at right now. And we obviously know how bad this unit can be in the pass coverage department. As we said, Cody, it's the weakness of this defense by far. Needs to be better, especially if you're going to get somebody alongside Franklin. So, I mean, what's your thoughts on the C minus grade there?
I think Zaire Franklin's been fine. Everything else has been awful.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
True that.
Like Joe Bosch he's unplayable right now. You can't play him. That's why, Derek, you're looking for a new starter alongside Zaire Franklin. Whether it's a guy like Austin Ajak, whether it's Shagun Alubi, whether it's somebody else you trade for. Like, you need to improve that groom. Absolutely. You need to find somebody else. Or maybe Jalen Carlies comes back and fills that role. But all in all, through the first 5 weeks, linebacker room has been by far the biggest weakness of this defense. And I think you're absolutely right. I think it's been both ways. Like, it's been just not filling the holes, not playing downhill, and also just in pass coverage as well, just getting roasted by whoever it is, getting roasted by the Raiders' third string tight end. Like, that's a problem. So, yeah, I absolutely would agree. I think C minus. I might even go D plus, to be honest, Derek. The only reason I probably wouldn't is because I think Zaire has held this unit up to at least a C minus.
Yeah.
But yeah,
this thing is hanging on to a failing grade, a passing grade because of Zaire Franklin. That's about it.
Yeah, pretty much. So you definitely, and it's weird considering how good Ballard has been at finding linebackers in the past, right? So It's kind of odd to see one of his greatest strengths through his time as the Indianapolis Colts general manager probably be your biggest weakness so far.
Decent at drafting them, not great at free agency grabbing them.
I guess not. Yeah, I guess
so that's how it works here. Anyways, move on here. Cornerback room. Probably going with a B plus here, Cody. And, honestly, I think that a lot of the reason why it's not an A is just simply because of it's been the injuries. The injuries have played a major part in why this unit is not better. We've seen times where, again, one of your starting corners, as you have him right now, Mekhi Blackman, continues to give up big plays because he can't stay on his own feet for some reason. So that's a major pivotal role in this. And then obviously with Kenny Moore being out, it's caused a ripple effect as well in the slot corner play. But overall, with the cornerback room, though, given the amount of injuries you have had, and which are Various Ward looking like a lockdown corner right now, I would be willing to give this cornerback room the benefit of the doubt. I think that they are a B plus unit that, when it's more healthy, could easily be an A minus or an A group if it was more fully healthy than what it is right now.
Well, I'm honestly shocked you gave it this high a grade. I'm going B here for
Okay.
this cornerback room. I mean, Xavier Howard alone brings it down for sure
Yeah, I
with
guess
what
we
happened against
can.
Puka
It's
Nakua.
just I forgot that he was even on the roster after this last week. You know,
Yeah, I
he's no
know. You
longer on
forget,
the
and
roster because he's retired. He's done now.
it's addition by subtraction here, but I can't forget that because I did. I mean, play a huge part in why you lost that game. So, but yeah, I think moving forward and also with the injuries as well, that's kind of why, as much as it sucks, it is what it is. And so I'd probably go a B here. I mean, Tarvarius Ward's been an A, but I think everything else you've kind of been scrambling because of the injuries. Although I do think like Blackman outside of the falling down this week, he had a pick. I do like what I saw, from the rookie undrafted free agent Jonathan Edwards. Chris Lamons, I did like what I see from him, but there's been some inconsistencies at that corner room so far. Hasn't been bad per se, but I would say it's been okay. Like it's been okay. Tarvarius Ward certainly brings it up, but some of the other things maybe bring it down a little bit.
Yeah, I can understand that. Again, I completely forgot that Xavier Howard was even a part of this team for a while. So
I
completely
Valid. I
understand
understand.
that. Anyways, for the safety room, I'm going to give this an A minus. The reason I don't give it anything higher is just because they don't really lead anything in the NFL right at this current moment. But as I said, Nick Cross been an unbelievable talent so far this year. I mean, Cody, it's crazy to think of where he's come these last 2 years as a safety. I mean, those first 2 years in the league, he didn't even play. In the time that he did play, it was bad. He was just out of position. It was always bad. And then these last 2 years, when he started to finally figure it out, I mean, Nick Cross has been playing insanely well. And then, of course, Cameron Bynum, who had 2 interceptions to start the year, and he's been phenomenal. I mean, I love what I'm watching from this safety room. And right now, it's one of the best safety rooms, if not the best safety room in the National Football League in this current moment.
Yeah, I think what brings this down from being an A or an A plus would be the Rams game in some ways, and Nick Cross got fooled a couple times by Matthew Stafford. But who hasn't, to be honest with you? Matthew Stafford's that kind of quarterback. So, but yeah, you're right. That's funny that you said that because I was actually thinking about that today. I was like, man, Nick Cross, he's probably been one of the most like best success stories for the Colts in recent memory, honestly, because you drafted him like you said in the third round, you traded up to get him, you love the kid, and then the first 2 years really underwhelming. I remember us having conversations like Nick Cross has to prove he's going to be a part of this team's future, and if he doesn't, he's going to be a draft bust. And to his credit, he got an opportunity last season. He took it by the reins, and he hasn't let go since. And he's been a really, really good safety for you. And also that addition to Cam Bynum as well, like you said, been phenomenal there. So yeah, I think this is one of the better safety tandems in the NFL right now, which is definitely really good in itself there. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of talent in this secondary, and Nick Cross, Cam Bynum, definitely a tandem that you like to see for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, definitely, man. It's been awesome to watch it. And, I mean, it's the best safety group we've had since Bob Sanders, Antoine Bethea, man. I mean, it goes back. Okay, so special teams. We won't really bring up like every part of the special teams, but Cody, I would probably give this special teams unit a B. Again, we've talked about it. Schrader has been great through the first 5 weeks. Obviously, no longer going to be a part of the team because of the injury, but the kicking game has been great there. The few times that you've asked Rigoberto Sanchez to punt this year, it's been great. Just one of the only few things that would critique is the amount of times, especially early in the season, where you gave up great field position for opposing teams on kickoffs. I mean, Cody, there were multiple times where in every game where teams were basically getting to the 35-yard line of ours or the 40-yard line at times of ours by returning those kicks. So, I mean, it's been pretty bad for the coverage team in that regard. It has gotten a little better as time has gone along, but I think the excellence of the kicking game mixed with the coverage game I think it just evens out as a B.
No, that's fair. I mean, yeah, that kick return game was not good. We were very concerned, but last week they definitely had their best performance from a kick coverage standpoint. So hopefully that's a good sign of things to come for this unit, because that was definitely our biggest concern. We'll be curious, like you said, how does the kicking situation look moving forward without Spencer Schrader now, because he was one of the best, if not the best, kickers in the NFL at that point. So that is definitely a bummer that he's going to be out for the remainder of the season. So yeah, special teams start out a little bit rough in the coverage game, but seems like it is on the upswing.
Definitely. And the last thing that we'll bring up here for this video, we'll bring up coaching, because you can't have a quarterly review without bringing up the coaching. I would say this year, Cody, to be completely honest, I would say probably A minus here. And I think the reason that, and I can see why some people might hover it at a B plus, because we remember that Denver game where Steichen almost blew that for us. No doubt that was a Steichen fail, and he acknowledged as much, and everybody knew it. But thankfully, the Indianapolis Colts were bailed out with a penalty. But outside of that, Cody, again, I feel like this year it has been so much better from a coaching standpoint, because now Steichen feels that he has a quarterback that's smart enough and is able to make the throws enough to where he can run the offense the way that he wants to. And, it's caused a tremendous ripple down effect of that regard. And, when it comes to the accountability of players playing bad, right? We talked about the Xavier Howard thing. Some guys on defense haven't played very well. Those guys are, getting either their spots taken or being released. Obviously, Adonai Mitchell, his numerous blunders against the Rams, he didn't play until the fourth quarter when the game was already over. So, I mean, you're seeing an actual accountability frame actually happening here with Steichen this year, and moving pieces around that's actually working. So I think all in all, that would put it at an A minus for me.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And yeah, like the defensive side, they've had a few issues for sure, but it feels like they've been able to throughout the course of the game. Like, for example, that Raiders game, first drive, you're like, oh my gosh, this defense is going to be Gus Bradley 2.0 at this rate. And then from there on, they only allow 3 more points the rest of the game. So like they adjust. That's the thing that the Colts didn't do last year with Gus Bradley. They didn't adjust because Gus Bradley is an idiot. I mean, honestly. But Lou Anarumo, he adjusts, right? He adjusts to the opponent, and he figured out ways to confuse Geno Smith into throwing 2 picks, and they did a good job from there on out. So, yeah, that's the thing that I think separates this Colts team coaching-wise from last year is their adaptability. They didn't adapt last year hardly at all, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So, yeah, that's a great thing there. And being able to utilize players' strengths. And like you said, that accountability piece. Like, they're not afraid to go throw in, a guy like Ashton Doolin on offense if that's what needs to happen. And I would honestly not be shocked if they continue to roll with a guy like Ashton Doolin. He had an opportunity. He made the most of that opportunity. Why not give him more? So that's kind of where I'm at with it. Definitely have been a few things, as you'll have, but Derek, right now, you're the number 1 seed in the AFC, so I think this can't be any less than an A minus.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. From all intents and purposes, from every aspect of the coaching, OC's coaching well, DC coaching well, head coach coaching well. I mean, it's just going really well for the Indianapolis Colts. But that's going to do it for this quarterly, somewhat, review for the Indianapolis Colts so far through 5 weeks. Let us know your guys' thoughts. What would you give the grade for all these positions? But that's going to do it for this one. Again, shout out to FanDuel for sponsoring this episode. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Thank you for all the support. And as always, go Colts.